The wind whistled eerily through the decrepit windows, carrying with it the faint sound of laughter and the pitter-patter of footsteps. In the heart of a desolate forest, shrouded in mist and mystery, stood the ruins of an old orphanage, a crumbling edifice that whispered secrets to those brave or foolish enough to venture near. The stories of the abandoned place had been passed down through generations. Tales of its tragic history whispered among locals, like a warning carried by the wind. The orphanage had been a haven for the orphaned and abandoned children of the town until that fateful night when a fire devoured its walls and claimed the lives of many innocent souls. The flames had roared, consuming the building and the dreams of the children trapped within. Since that night, the orphanage had stood as a silent monument to the horrors of the past, its halls haunted by the echoes of forgotten souls. A group of adventurous teenagers, lured by the chilling stories and fueled by youthful curiosity, decided to challenge the legends and explore the ruins one moonlit night. Their flashlights cut through the darkness as they ventured deeper into the heart of the derelict building. Their laughter and banter echoed off the walls, a stark contrast to the solemnity of the place. As they pushed forward, they began to hear strange sounds, the faint giggles of children, the distant echoes of laughter. The air grew chillier, and their breath misted in front of them, even though it was a warm summer night. The atmosphere became charged with an eerie energy, but their fascination overpowered their fear. A sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut, sending shivers down their spines. Nervous glances were exchanged, and that's when the footsteps began. A soft, rhythmic tapping that seemed to come from all directions. Panic fluttered in their chests, their eyes darting around, trying to locate the source of the haunting sounds. The footsteps led them down twisting hallways and up rickety staircases, their flashlights casting flickering shadows on the decayed walls. And then the footsteps led them to a small, dimly lit room at the far end of a corridor. There, huddled in the corner, was a group of translucent figures. Children. Their eyes were hollow, and their faces wore expressions of eternal sadness. One of the teenagers whispered, tears glistening in his eyes. "They're the ones who never made it out." As the teens watched in horror, the ghostly children began to speak, a cacophony of voices blending into a haunting chorus of pain and longing. They spoke of the night the fire had ravaged the orphanage, their pleas for help swallowed by the roaring flames and uncaring caretakers. The guilt of not being able to save them had trapped their souls within the very walls that had once offered them shelter. A sudden silence fell upon the room, and the teens turned to see the figure of a tall, shadowy man standing in the doorway. He wore the tattered remnants of a caretaker's uniform, his eyes hollow and his face contorted in anguish. The teens stumbled back, their hearts hammering as they realized the true horror of the place. They were not just witnesses. They were participants in the haunting. With a chilling whisper that seemed to snake its way into their minds, the ghostly caretaker accused them of trespassing and failing to save the children. The room grew colder, and the walls seemed to close in on them, as if the very building itself were alive with malevolence. Panic gripped the teens as they realized they were trapped, their fates now entwined with the tormented souls they had come to investigate. The room burst into flames, but these flames were not ordinary. They burned blue otherworldly. The ghostly children reached out to the teens, their eyes filled with both desperation and hope. The teens screamed, their voices swallowed by the roaring fire, their figures consumed by the ethereal blaze. And as the fire subsided, the orphanage seemed to echo with the anguished cries of those who had suffered there long ago, as if the building itself had absorbed the horrors of the past and was now sharing them with the world. The forest whispered, the tale of the ill-fated explorers, their curiosity leading them to a fate far worse than they could have ever imagined. Story 2, Whispers from the Past. The old psychiatric hospital stood like a specter on the hill, its shattered windows reflecting the fading light of the setting sun. Perched atop a desolate hill, where the boundary between reality and nightmare seemed to blur, stood the abandoned Willowbrook Psychiatric Hospital. Its weathered facade told a tale of forgotten suffering, its windows broken like shattered memories. The institution's history was etched with darkness. Rumors of sinister experiments and unspeakable treatments had woven a haunting tapestry that lingered in the whispers of the past. The hospital had once been a chamber of horrors, its corridors echoing with the anguished cries of the mentally ill. Few dared to venture close, but a group of college students, enticed by the allure of adrenaline and fascinated by the macabre, decided to confront the hospital's secrets head-on. They believed that the walls held the key to a sinister truth, and they were determined to unveil it. The explorers entered the decaying building, flashlights in hand, the beams revealing the crumbling infrastructure of a place that had witnessed unspeakable torment. The grand lobby, once a welcoming space, now felt like a portal to the netherworld. The main corridor beckoned, its walls whispering tales of despair to those who dared to listen. Separated by both excitement and trepidation, the group split up, each member delving into different wings of the hospital. Alone in a dimly lit hallway, one student began to hear faint whispers, soft like a breeze carrying forgotten words. The voices were indistinct, yet they carried an air of desperation and sorrow. A shiver ran down the student's spine, but curiosity overshadowed fear, driving them to explore further. In another wing, a different student stumbled upon a series of interconnected tunnels hidden beneath layers of grime and time. These tunnels, concealed from official records, seemed to delve into the sinister heart of the hospital. The walls bore crude drawings depicting scenes of torment, words, images, and cries of agony etched into the very stone. As the night deepened, the explorers regrouped, sharing their findings and exchanging uneasy glances. The whispers, once distant, now enveloped them in a spectral embrace. Their flashlights cast flickering shadows that danced along the cracked walls, mimicking the movements of long-gone patients. The atmosphere grew colder, and an almost palpable sense of being watched settled over them. Abruptly, the lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Panic gripped them as they fumbled for their flashlight, their frantic movements punctuating the silence. And then, a faint light flickered at the end of the hallway, drawing them like moths to a flame. They followed the ethereal glow, their steps cautious and tentative, until they found themselves in a room seemingly untouched by time. In the center of the room stood a figure draped in tattered hospital attire, a specter of the past come to life. The whispers grew louder, and the explorers realized the figure was mouthing the very words they had been hearing throughout the night. A name, a patient's name. The figure's head lifted, revealing hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through their very souls. It pointed with a bony finger, accusingly singling out one of the students. The accused student fell to his knees, clutching his head as foreign memories flooded his mind. Memories of suffering, of experiments gone horribly awry. The other students watched in horror as their friend's body contorted, his face twisted in agony. With a final heart-wrenching scream, he fell lifeless to the ground. The figure in the shadows let out a mournful wail before fading into the darkness. The remaining students fled the hospital, their terrified screams blending with the echoes of the past. They had unwittingly become part of the hospital's haunting, the threads of their lives woven into the tapestry of suffering that clung to the walls. The hospital stood as a grim testament to the horrors of the human mind, the echoes of its torment forever etched into the fabric of reality. Story 3: The Silent Cinema. The marquee of the old cinema still flickered with the promise of forgotten stories, its neon lights dancing in the misty night. In a corner of the city, hidden from modern life's hustle and bustle, the grand Starlight Cinema stood as a relic of a golden era. Its majestic marquee, though battered by time, still held a promise of forgotten stories and bygone magic. The cinema's doors had remained locked for decades, its interior a time capsule of vintage glamour and a repository of forgotten dreams. Urban legends whispered that those who dared to enter its abandoned halls could be transported to another time. A time when celluloid dreams danced on the silver screen. A group of adventurous souls, captivated by the tales of yesteryears and a hunger for the unknown, gathered to explore the cinema. The moon's glow played upon the marquee's neon lights, casting a surreal ambience that seemed to beckon them forward. Each step echoed through the grand lobby, as if the very building was welcoming them to its ghostly embrace. The main theater stretched before them like a cavernous cathedral of nostalgia. Rows of dilapidated seats waited in silent anticipation, their faded velvet cushions evoking an era long past. Dust motes danced in the air, caught in the rays of the explorers' flashlights as they weaved their way through the forgotten grandeur. Intrigued by the cinematic artifacts, they ventured deeper, guided by the enchanting aura of the projector room. Film reels coated in dust and memories adorned the shelves like ancient scrolls waiting to be unfurled. One reel stood out, a dusty canister labeled The Silent Muse. It bore no title beyond that, no details to hint at its origin or contents. A sense of foreboding mingled with excitement as the explorers set up the projector, eager to uncover the tale it held. With a mechanical hum, the projector cast its light upon the worn screen. As the images flickered to life, the room was enveloped in a ghostly stillness, broken only by the soft whir of the projector and the rhythmic crackling of the film. The explorers found themselves transported to another era, a world of black and white, a world where the past met the present. The film, titled The Silent Muse, began to unravel, a poignant narrative of a once celebrated actress named Evelyn Hartwood. Through grainy frames, the explorers witnessed her rise to stardom, her graceful dance between the lines of reality and fiction, and her sudden disappearance from the silver screen. The film offered a glimpse into the starlet's world, a world laced with beauty, desire, and enigma. Yet, as the silent film played on, the explorers sensed a palpable shift, a connection between the real and their reality. The actress's eyes bore into their very souls, her gaze unnerving in its intensity. The silence grew suffocating, a phantom hand squeezing their hearts as if the film itself were reaching out to claim them. The images distorted further, blurring the boundaries between the screen and their world. Reality itself seemed to twist, and the explorers found themselves standing within the very scenes they had been watching. They were spectators turned participants in a tale that had once been confined to celluloid, a tale that had demanded more than passive attention. Time lost its grip as they relived Evelyn's tragic journey, her meteoric rise to fame, her agonizing descent into madness, and her enigmatic disappearance from public view. The explorers became characters, each step in sync with the plot, their identities merging with the celluloid shadows. But as the cycle repeated, desperation took hold. They realized that they were trapped within the film's grasp, condemned to relive its tormented narrative indefinitely. The very fabric of reality had unraveled, and they were ensnared in a loop that refused to let go. With every ounce of strength, they managed to destroy the film reel. The projector sputtered and died, and the room was shrouded in darkness once more. The spell shattered, but Evelyn's presence lingered, a ghostly figure in the corner, her eyes a tapestry of gratitude and sorrow. As the cinema's marquee flickered one last time, the explorers knew they had escaped the cycle, but at a cost. Forever marked by a tale that blurred the line between memory and myth. And so, the grand Starlight Cinema remained, its marquee a beacon for those who still sought to uncover its stories. The explorers left with a newfound awareness, the power of forgotten narratives to intertwine with reality, to ensnare the present within the clutches of the past.